Hi, good afternoon everyone. We are here at the Alabama Nature Center and we're out in our pollinator field today, as you can see. And before we get started, I just want to tell you some exciting news. We're actually going to be open to the public starting tomorrow. So we'll have slightly shortened hours and you'll be able to go online and buy your tickets in advance if you'd like. And we'll be doing check-in at the end of the breezeway. So a little bit different setup just to kind of help with health concerns, and also so that we can, we'll have check-in outside of our building. We'll have our building closed, so it's just access to the trails for right now. So if you go online to our website, alabamawildlife.org, you'll be able to order tickets and get more information and see our rules and things like that. So that's the news for right now. But I'm here at the Nature Center, and if you come tomorrow or next week, you can come out and see this place as well. So behind me, I have our pollinator field. And so we've kind of talked about this on the Wildlife Federation's Facebook page a little bit. We showed you some pictures of the coreopsis that's blooming. We also have some black-eyed Susans that are about to start blooming. There's some butterfly milkweed out here with monarch caterpillars on them, and a lot of other wildflowers and things like that. And so this has been a work in progress for a while now, us restoring this habitat, converting it from just being kind of just an old field habitat where it had a lot of non-native grasses taking over and some things like that, and converting it into something that's really beneficial for wildlife here, and also mostly targeting pollinators. And we chose this area because this is actually our apiary. So this is the Alan Johns and Ann Gunderson demonstration apiary that we have here, and we are going to go in there today because we've got 4 nukes that have just recently been installed. And so in the world of honeybees, nukes actually means nucleus, so nucleus colonies, so little baby colonies of bees that we just got just a couple of weeks ago. And so it's time for us to check on them, and I wanted you to be able to join us today and check on the bees. So make sure that as we go along, if you have questions, please ask. We'll see if we can answer them, and we're gonna head on in. And so this demonstration apiary, we do field trips and summer camp and weekend programs and all sorts of things regularly. And we use this to teach and to be able to show guests a honeybee hive up close. And so the netting, the bees can get up and out, and they can go out into the field and they can go check out all those flowers and things like that. And visitors can sit under the shade cloth on the benches on the other side of the screen, and they're protected by the screen because the honeybees aren't going to go mess with them there. And so that's what this area has been designed for, so that I can come in and work the bees and people can watch. And so we have 4 new hives. Now, these are honeybees. So these are a non-native animal. These are European honeybees. They have been used for a very, very long time by humans. They're considered a domesticated animal, so they're no longer a wild animal. They're domesticated, they're kept by humans for the purposes of pollination or producing honey. And they're really fascinating. They're a fascinating insect. They're a whole lot easier to keep than a lot of our native bees, to be able to have them in really large numbers, have them over the winter, be able to have them in boxes that we can carry around. And so that's one of the reasons why the honeybee has gained popularity over some of our native bees, as well as, 1, having extremely large numbers compared to our native bees, and 2, the ability to produce honey. So those are some factors that make this a prized insect in the animal world. Now, our native bees, we have over 4,000 native bees in North America. And when you hear about the bees being in trouble, and declines in bee populations. What they're talking about is our native bee populations. And if you'd like to know more about native bees, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. But today we're going to talk about honeybees. And honeybees are a great place to learn about bees. And from honeybees, you can learn about some of the other bees. And they're some really fascinating animals, and their social structure is pretty unique. And a lot of our native bees are solitary, and so having social bees like this is fascinating. So we have a few tools. We have a smoker, we have some hive grips or frame grips, and we have a hive tool. These are pretty valuable things for a beekeeper to use. And so I'm going to get my smoker ready, and I'm just using some pine straw to get my smoker started. And this is essentially just going to get the bees to go down and they start eating honey. Whenever they sense that a fire could be near, they start wanting to stock up on their valuables in case they need to leave, which in the case of a honeybee is their honey. And so if they think a fire might be near, they will go start eating lots and lots of honey and get their bellies nice and full, and they just tend to be a lot happier and calmer and easier to deal with. I don't smoke them too much. I don't want them to leave the hive, but just enough to where they are otherwise occupied. Okay, so we're going to put some pine straw in here. Close up my smoker. And then we're going to go over to this first hive. And so all I'm going to do is go over to the entrance and just kind of let them know I'm coming in. I don't usually need to smoke the hives very much at all. These are very calm bees anyway. So when I open up the hive, that smoke got to me. Alright, so this part's just an empty box. It's holding my feeder, and they have actually gone through some sugar water. So since they're a young colony, we're feeding them with sugar water, so these are just feeders right now. And it just helps them get started. And they're all up there getting that sugar water. So they have been really going to town on that. And so they can go out and they can still forage for flowers and things like that, but just to help them get started, since they're a young colony and we want them to be nice and strong for winter, we're feeding them some sugar water with some little essential oils and stuff like that in it, just to help them out. And I'm having to use my hive tool because honeybees go out and they gather and collect several different things to make a few different things. When they go out and they forage, they go out to collect water, they collect nectar from flowers, they collect pollen, and they also collect sap from different trees and plants. And they collect sap to make a product called propolis. And propolis I'm going to move my smoker a little bit further away from me. Propolis actually acts like bee glue. It's the duct tape of the bee world. They use it to seal up things, they use it to waterproof things, they use it to seal up any nooks and crannies to make sure everything's all waterproof and insulated and how they want it. And so I have to use this to get in here because they've stuck everything together with that propolis. So they've started to build some wax, and so they make wax. The worker bees make wax using wax glands that are on their abdomen, on the underside of their abdomen. So that's a secretion that the worker bees make. And then around the edges, this is the propolis that they've sealed up the edges. All right, and so what we're checking for now, we're checking for how many frames they filled out. Eventually they'll need another box put on, but we need to see if they filled out enough frames before I put another box on. But before I start opening up things, let's see. I thought I saw a drone a second ago. Almost all the bees on the cover right here, and all the bees here are actually, these are all worker bees. And worker bees are all female. So these make up the vast majority of the colony, of the honeybee colony. And their jobs, they do all the work. They go out and they gather those 4 things that we already talked about. They are also the wax builders, the honey makers. They take care of the queen, groom her, feed her. They also feed and tend to the young. They make decisions about the hive, whether or not it's time for the colony to relocate to a new location. They are the ones that guard the entrance to the hive and protect it from any intruders. They do all of the work. They have a lot of unique adaptations to their body to allow them to do this. We've already mentioned wax glands. They also have a stinger for protection, and they also have something called the hypopharyngeal gland, which secretes something called royal jelly, which is what the queen bee eats and young bees eat. The other member of the colony is the drone. I was trying to find a drone. Let me see if there's any in here. And the drone is the boy bees. And there's a few of them, and you'll see them in the spring through the fall. That's the only time of the year you'll see drones. And the reason for that is they don't want them there all year round because they eat a lot of food. And the drones don't have as many adaptations, so they don't make honey, they don't have a stinger, so they can't guard the hive, they can't make or build wax or anything like that, so they don't really do much. They do leave the hive every day and they go out to try to mate with a queen. So they're very important as far as continuing on the species, but for the colony itself, they're not really helping out a lot here. So the queen will produce drones in the spring. Hi, checking out my face. The queen will produce drones in the spring, and then in the fall, when it's getting ready for winter time and they're worried about how much food they'll have during winter, if there's drones around, they will actually kick them out of the hive. So drones have it hard. And I saw some, but we'll keep looking. And then the last member of the colony is the queen. And the queen, her biggest job is to lay eggs. She can lay up to 1,500 eggs a day, and that is her job. And the worker bees take care of all her other needs. But she is just the one who lays the eggs.
Miss Kristen, we have a question.
All right, what's the question?
Do bees drink water?
They do drink water. They like to drink water. And they also, not only do they drink water, but they also take water back into the hive to cool it down. So they put water on the backs of other worker bees. That worker bee will fan their wings and it will evaporate in the hive to cool the hive down. So they make their own air conditioning that way. So water serves 2 purposes. One, to drink, and you can put water out at your house. You put out a shallow basin of water with some pebbles in it or marbles so that they can't fall in and drown. You'll be surprised by how many different animals will use that water. Butterflies and other native bees and honeybees, because it's a very valuable thing for them and they go searching for it. And can't really swim, so they have to find shallow water. This is just a frame. This is a plastic frame it's coated with beeswax. So this is made by humans, and they haven't filled anything out. This is foundation. This is to help them get started. These evil little things that are going back and forth. This is a hive beetle. It's a non-native pest that ooh, look at this guy. Look at that cool red wasp. Oh, he's on you. Let me get him off of you. Okay, that's a really cool thing. So, a pollinator, by the way. Red wasps are related to bees, but they are carnivorous. So they mostly go and they eat pests out of the garden. But they will also go and pollinate plants because their young usually eat pollen or nectar. So they're still pollinators, but they also help get rid of pests out of your garden by eating different other insects. Most of the time these guys, even though they look pretty scary, most of the time they're pretty docile as long as you're not actually trying to disturb their nest. The same cannot be held true to yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are not so nice. Still protective of their nest. Okay, I'm gonna move you somewhere else. Come over here. There you go. Okay.